Hi there, welcome to Gnostic Vlog Confessio 7. I'm actually doing this today with the number 6 because I just feel in the mood to do it, and I think this is an important point to make, and maybe there'll be things going on next week. When I look back on my life, I describe myself as an advocate of ideas. And the thing about an advocate in law is that they don't really care about the guilt or innocence of the person that they're defending, if they're a defense lawyer. They just merely want to win the case. And so it's a matter of winning or losing a case, not really establishing guilt or innocence, although that obviously is what you tell people it's all about. And I think as an advocate, one's just really really keen to win an argument, so I get very obsessed with different ideas and different religions and different belief systems, and I'm an advocate for them, and I argue their case very very strenuously. But where does this actually leave truth and justice? I think a lot of social justice warriors are very obsessed with winning. They just want to win the argument. They don't really, really care about Plato's questions: what is justice, or what is truth, and what is the good, and what is beauty. They just want to win. And I think I'm a bit like that, really. I'm an advocate for ideas. And so where does this actually leave me? Oh, and leave me in respect of my own actual beliefs. Do I actually have any beliefs? Or do I just think there is nothing to believe in? And that beliefs are just a matter of posing, of, as I say, winning arguments, and therefore winning kudos and winning respect, and I don't know, all the sort of external things that people want when they want to win an argument. And so I present this. Image poem, as you might call it, which I look at this idea of belief, and I also build upon Stefan Heuler's ideas about belief, and about how belief is really, really not enough. You want something more, and I've got here the stanza where I make out that belief and disbelief are sort of two sides of the same coin, whatever coin that might be, and that you can but basically what you really really want, and I go from this stanza to this stanza, following the arrows. What you really want is knowledge or ignorance. Well, you don't want ignorance, but you want knowledge, and this is the true binary. This is the true 0 and 1. 1 is knowledge or gnosis, and 0 is ignorance. And you want to go from 0 to hero, basically. Granted, you might find that you go from hero to 0, which is the babe of the abyss in Kabbalistic terms. You think you know about things when in fact you don't know. And if you don't know that you don't know, then you're a fool, according to Plato. Granted, you might go from 1 to 0, and might be rather disappointed with life in doing so, but finally you go from 0 to 1. And 1 is knowledge. 1 is the knowledge that you receive. And this has nothing to do with belief. And as I show in the next stanza, which we go from here to there, you want something which is based on experience rather than belief. Because I got here the rather strange twist to the usual saying that experience does as experience is. Normally people say something is as something does, but I got here experience does as experience is. So you can't argue with experience, really. You can't argue with experience, all other things being equal, and if you're in sound mind and body, and perhaps even a certain purified of certain toxins in the body, which we'll come to in another video. But you can't argue with experience, and then the experience simply is, and experience does as well. So having gone from a sort of isness, a quality of experience, it then actually has an effect on your life, or has effect on your perception or on your faith. It actually establishes faith and establishes self. So the real knowledge comes from the experience rather than from the rational mind. That's the point I'm trying to make, building on Stefan Heuler's point, of course. And then I relate it also to language. I also have here that you might not know what you were looking at unless you could name it. We're so used to naming something in order to make it exist. Naming is the mother of all things. That if you lost the noun for ball, you might say, "What is this round thing that I have before me?" And you couldn't name it. You wouldn't know if you'd forgotten the name, forgotten the word ball. You would feel very hollow and empty and almost distressed, really, because you wouldn't, like I should imagine people with senility or dementia have a terrible time because they look at things or try to remember things and they don't know. There's blanks in their mind, in their memory, like grey blanks. And they just can't remember the word for something, and they know what it does, like a pen writes. So they know you can write with a pen, but they can't actually remember what the word for pen is in their native language. And this must be incredibly distressing, I should imagine. And I know people, when they take drugs like psilocybin or LSD, they sometimes have this experience, and it's sort of like senility due to the poison that they've actually taken. And all they have, basically, is the experience of this object, but they can't name it, so there's something missing. And so there I go to this stanza. We've forgotten heaven. We've forgotten the experience of God. But at least we can remember heaven's word, and then the word then delivers the experience. That's what I'm trying to say with this stanza. This is rather an obscure stanza, and I don't really pretend to understand it, actually. I don't think it's a vibration in the sense of a mantram. I think it's a vibration which is far beyond the auditory spectrum, and is a pure vibration. Nevertheless, it induces an experience because you remember something, and you remember that this vibration, which is the word, if you like, for heaven, is not of this world, because not of the demiurge, and not of this place of forgetfulness, because the world of the demiurge is a world of destruction, and a world where we forget everything. And where we have forgotten everything. We've forgotten soul, we've forgotten God, we've forgotten heaven, we've forgotten the Holy Spirit, and it is a place of forgetfulness. And ultimately, of course, if you do suffer from Alzheimer's, you forget everything. And then I don't know what is left after the brain has packed up and all the memory algorithms of the brain no longer function. I don't know what is there left, but there is something that is left, according to the theory of spirituality, and that which remains, perhaps, is this vibration which makes you remember heaven, remember God, remember the experience of God and heaven, and which prepares you for the transition from this material world to the supernal worlds, or the worlds beyond the supernal worlds, actually, to limitless light itself. And so therefore, you're sort of taken back, as it were, transported back to this stanza, where we go back to the definition of gnosis as knowledge through experience rather than knowledge through rational thought and categorization. There is no category for this gnosis. That you can't rationally categorize it or put it into any Aristotelian framework, which I'm always apt to do because I'm an advocate for ideas, as I've said before, and basically you go from ignorance, which is a lack of experience, to the total experience of God. And this exists beyond emotion, beyond space and time, beyond rational thought. You sort of enter into, as I said, a higher intuitive state. Is anybody out there is the question, and to which you may get an answer. It may come to you in a flash of light, or in going blind, as it happened to Saul on the way to Damascus before he became Paul. Anything can happen. Anything literally can happen. So be prepared. For the coming of the Lord, as it were. And mark the words of John the Baptist on this issue. So I don't know where that leaves me. So I feel that I go from, like a bee. I go from one flower to the next. I go from one obsession to the next. I go from one cause to another cause, and I argue strenuously and believe in that cause, and then I go to another one. I suppose basically all the beliefs and all the causes melt into one when confronted by the actual experience of God. So this is the hope, really, that somebody like me has, that something will come along that actually overturns my entire rational framework, and overturns my emotions as well. Because last time I took psilocybin and that happened, I was full of fear. So I don't want that. I want to be fearless in the face of a complete overturn of my rational mind, and a complete openness to experience. And then my ignorance will be over. And then it will simply be a matter of thinking about motorbikes outside, revving up their engines. It will simply be a matter of, flagging them down and saying, hey, what on earth are you doing roaring past my window, when you should be actually opening yourself up to the Holy Spirit instead? But I suppose you can't say to people you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that. They have to come to it themselves in some fashion. But anyway, you can certainly evangelize. You can certainly, put it out there, as they say, which I hope this vlog has done, and I hope has been of some use to you. But especially, I hope that this vlog entry is of some use to me, because I need it.